There was one part of the Bible I could never fully believe. Not healing. Not miracles. Not even divine intervention. It was the part about the dead coming back to life. I loved God. I prayed. I believed in faith. But resurrection. That was where my logic drew the line. Whenever I heard stories of people returning after death, my mind instantly searched for explanations. Maybe they fainted. Maybe the doctors got it wrong. Maybe there was still brain activity. Anything except actual death. And honestly, nothing could have convinced me otherwise. Until 2023. In 2023, my company selected about 50 staff members from different states for a 4-month professional training in Port Harcourt. It was a huge opportunity for career growth. Everything was paid for, except accommodation. Thankfully, my church headquarters in Port Harcourt had lodging spaces for visiting members. My home church sent a recommendation letter, and just like that, I was assigned a fully furnished 2-bedroom apartment inside the church premises. At the time, it felt like a simple blessing. I had no idea that apartment was about to become the setting for one of the most terrifying nights of my life. 2 months into my stay, another woman moved in. Her name was Ifeoma. She was married, from Cross River State, and had come to Port Harcourt for an interview process. From the very beginning, we connected effortlessly. She was calm, soft-spoken, humble. The kind of person that made you feel comfortable immediately. Soon, we developed a routine. Some days she cooked for both of us. Other days, I cooked. Life felt peaceful. Normal. Until one evening. I came home that evening and froze instantly. Ifeoma was gasping violently for air. Her face had turned red. Her body was twisting unnaturally. And sitting in front of her was the bowl of ogbono soup I had made the previous day. At first, I thought food had entered the wrong pipe. So I rushed to get her water. But the moment she drank it, everything became worse. Her body stretched strangely. Her breathing became terrifying. That was when panic truly hit me. I ran. Anyone familiar with the church headquarters in Port Harcourt knows the gatehouse is not close to the apartments. But somehow, I got there in seconds. I was screaming before words could even form properly. The security men saw me from afar and immediately began running toward me. After that, everything became blurry. One moment, people crowded our apartment. The next, I was in the back seat of a car holding her body as we sped toward the hospital. On the way to the hospital, I called everyone I could think of from church. Till today, I cannot remember what I said during those calls. I only remember fear. Because Ifeoma had a husband, a 2-year-old daughter waiting for her back home. And one terrifying thought kept screaming in my mind. What if she dies after eating my food? At the hospital, church members gathered quickly. Some prayed quietly. Others paced in silence. I couldn't even pray. Then after about 20 minutes, the doctor walked out and calmly announced that she was gone. I remember collapsing instantly. Nothing around me sounded real anymore. Then one of the pastors called her husband in Cross River State. And that conversation changed everything. The man refused to believe his wife was dead. At first, we thought he was simply in denial. But he insisted. Don't move her body. I'm coming. It was already late at night. Traveling from Calabar to Port Harcourt could take 6 hours on a good day. Still, he begged the hospital to keep her there until he arrived. Meanwhile, the prayers continued. But slowly, the atmosphere changed. The prayers no longer sounded confident. They sounded like mourning. And honestly, that was the moment my own faith disappeared too. A few minutes after midnight, her husband arrived. What happened next will stay with me forever. He did not scream. He did not collapse. He did not look like a man who had just lost his wife. Instead, he walked calmly to her bedside, looked at her body, and called her name. Ifeoma, as your priest, I command you to return to life. The entire room went silent. Then tears began streaming uncontrollably down his face. I refuse to raise our daughter alone. You are an obedient wife. In the name of Jesus, wake up. At that moment, something shifted inside me. It felt like God Himself pinned me to that exact spot so I could witness something my logic could never explain. And no, she didn't suddenly jump up dramatically. There was no movie scene. No violent coughing. No screaming. Nothing dramatic happened. But after the husband insisted the doctors check her again, they found a pulse. A pulse. Suddenly, the room exploded into confusion. Machines were brought back. Doctors rushed around. Tests were repeated. And 2 days later, Ifeoma walked out of that hospital alive. But me, I never remained the same after that night. Because for the first time in my life, I understood something terrifying and beautiful. If God says something is possible, then it is possible. Whether your logic accepts it or not. Whether your experience agrees with it or not. And just because you have never witnessed a reality, does not mean that reality does not exist. That night taught me 2 lessons I will never forget. First, God does not lie. And second, the spiritual authority of a husband is deeper than most people realize. Maybe being the priest of a home is more than paying bills and asking for pounded yam. Maybe heaven actually listens when true authority speaks. And maybe most people have no idea what they carry.